Picture Charlie Chaplin. What do you see? Probably the little tramp, right? With the bowler hat, the cane, that funny little walk. He was the man who made the whole world laugh without ever saying a word. But behind all that comedy, there's this whole other story. A story of incredible pain and struggle that honestly fueled his genius. So, let's get into the man behind the mustache.
And this is it, right here. This slide nails the central paradox of his life. On one side, you've got the image, the funniest man alive, a total global superstar. And on the other, the reality, a life that started with almost unimaginable tragedy. As we're going to see, it was this very pain that became the raw material for his comedy.
Okay, so to really get who he was, we've got to go way back to the beginning, to a childhood in London that was, well, anything but funny. And this period wasn't just some sad backstory, it was the absolute foundation for everything he would become.
I mean, just look at how fast everything collapsed for him. He was born in 1889, and by the time he's 5, he's already being shoved onto a stage to basically save his family from public humiliation. Soon after that, he and his brother get sent to a workhouse, which was pretty much an orphanage, and then the ultimate blow. His mother is committed to a mental asylum. It was just one trauma after another.
So this right here, this is the moment his entire career kicks off. Can you even imagine it? His mother's voice just gives out. The crowd gets nasty, they start heckling her, and in total desperation, little 5-year-old Charlie is shoved into the spotlight. And somehow, in all that chaos, he doesn't just perform, he completely captivates them. His comedy was literally born in a moment of crisis.
And you'd think it couldn't get any worse, right? Well, with his mother gone, it did. The court put him and his brother with their father, who was struggling with alcoholism and had already moved on and remarried. There was just no safety net, zero stability. The boys were pretty much on their own.
And yet somehow, from all of that wreckage, he goes on to build an absolute empire. He didn't just run from his past. He took it and channeled it into creating the most famous character on planet Earth, the Tramp.
You see, the tramp wasn't just some silly clown. He was a powerful social statement. Chaplin took all the poverty and hardship he'd seen, and he gave it dignity. Like it says here, the tramp had the dreams of a poet and the manners of a gentleman, always hopeful against all odds. That was Chaplin to his very core.
And his height, right? That was a huge part of the whole thing. At just 5'4", he was literally the little guy. His comedy was always about the underdog, the small man taking on this big, hostile world, and somehow, with just his wit and resilience, managing to come out on top.
And wow, was his timing perfect. The world is plunging into the Great Depression. People are losing everything. And then here comes this character on screen who has absolutely nothing but his wits, and he's still making it. He wasn't just entertainment. He was a genuine symbol of hope. So he becomes the biggest star in America, the country he thought of as his home. But then, in this absolutely shocking turn of events, that very same country would turn on him, viciously, leading to one of the most painful chapters of his entire life. It's a wild question, isn't it? How does the most beloved entertainer in the country suddenly become public enemy number one? Well, the answer is all tangled up in the political paranoia that was just sweeping the nation at the time. Suddenly, he's facing this, coordinated attack. The FBI is labeling him a communist sympathizer, these rumors are flying that he's a Russian agent, and it all came to a head when his 1952 film Limelight was actually banned in the very country that had made him a star.
You have to understand, this was a deep, deep personal betrayal for him. Chaplin had so much love for America, and he was profoundly hurt by the hostility. So in a moment of just complete heartbreak and maybe a little bit of defiance, he's on a trip abroad and he just gives up his U.S. residency permit.
And that was that. The decision was final. He and his family settled in Switzerland, and the man who basically defined Hollywood's golden age would never, ever call America home again.
But here's the thing about Chaplin. His story and his influence were always way bigger than just one country. Being exiled from America, it didn't even dent his status as a global icon. In fact, his legacy just kept growing in the most extraordinary ways.
I mean, just look at the kind of people he was connecting with. He was deeply moved by the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. He met with world leaders like India's Prime Minister Nehru. He even wanted to meet Winston Churchill. He wasn't just a movie star anymore, he was a true figure on the world stage.
Okay, this is one of my all-time favorite stories about him. Albert Einstein, a genius whose work was so complex almost nobody could understand it, totally got the universal genius of Chaplin. One spoke in the language of physics, the other in the silent language of humanity, and the whole world just adored them both.
And that influence just keeps echoing, you know? Decades later, another global superstar, Michael Jackson, looked to Chaplin as his ultimate inspiration. He got it. He knew Chaplin's real magic wasn't just the laughs, but showing people how to find joy right in the middle of all the pain.
So you'd think, right after a life packed with so many insane highs and lows, the story would just end peacefully when he passed away. But we're talking about Charlie Chaplin. Nothing was ever that simple. His story had one last, totally bizarre act left to play.
Seriously, this sounds like something straight out of one of his own absurd comedies. He dies on Christmas Day, 1977. Just a few months later, his body is literally stolen from its grave by thieves trying to get a ransom. It took the authorities 11 weeks to finally catch them and get his coffin back. It's just proof that even in death, his life was way, way stranger than fiction.
And that's what it all comes down to, this one big question. Chaplin's life really shows us that sometimes the person who gives the world the most joy is the one who's known the most sorrow. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of the greatest art that we love is just a beautiful, defiant response to an unbearable pain.